Alright y'all, welcome back to Cummerbund channel. Okay, so today I'm super excited to be doing a review of the new Agilite K0 SF. So you guys know I don't know how many Agilite plate carriers I've reviewed at this point, probably like four, maybe even five. I reviewed a lot of plate carriers in general, but I've also reviewed a lot of Agilite products, and that is why I'm so excited to be doing a review of this new K0 SF, is because all of like the awesome things that I've talked about with Agilite products previously, specifically their plate carriers, they've basically wrapped that into one really solid package, which you can kind of already see here is going to be my primary setup here in the Army. Obviously we rock multicam for everything, so this is going to be my primary setup, and I'll explain why, and I'll explain like kind of all the features that this K0 SF has implemented from all the previous plate carriers. Now, as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Agilite, not just because the quality is fantastic. All the materials are solid. I have never had an Agilite product just fail or fall apart. And I've been using Agilite products at this point probably for about 6 years. So yeah, I've been using Agilite for quite some time and I love their stuff. It's built to last. But at the same time, the thing that really gets me so excited about Agilite is the innovation and the testing that they do with all of their equipments, because they're not just like kind of reinventing the wheel or doing the same thing that everybody else is doing with their own kind of flavor, slapping their own logos on. They're innovating a lot. And specifically with this plate carrier and their other previous plate carriers, there are a lot of awesome features that they're putting into their products, and I'll kind of give you a rundown of all of the awesome features and kind of why they're so nice to have. Again, for me, with my years of experience kind of in the Marine Corps infantry, in the Army infantry, working in the conventional infantry, but also on a close quarter battle team, also working in reconnaissance, and then kind of moving out of that into like the Pogue realm, also in like airsoft and stuff. So basically I've used plate carriers in a lot of different kind of aspects. So that's kind of where I'm deriving all of my experience from. But I will give a breakdown of why I love this so much and why you should absolutely consider getting the K0 SF as opposed to any other plate carriers on the market. And there are a lot of plate carriers on the market. Now, right off the bat, you can see this is a very nice sort of form factor. You can see it's not like sagging weird. There's no like gaps in between my body and the plate carrier. It's resting very nicely. It's resting very snug. It's not kind of impeding my movement in any sort of regard where I really need kind of that movement and that mobility. And of course, it's protecting what it needs to protect. And there's a lot of kind of like testing, not just in like how the shape and how the straps rest and all of that stuff, but also how the front plate bag rests with the back plate bag, and how it can actually give you that protection without having to kind of like adjust it and just make it super weird, have like a canted cummerbund and everything. There's a lot of engineering. So I'll do kind of like a bottom up approach, because I think as I get up here, I'm gonna have to kind of take the plate carrier off. But this, you can see you have the ability to put a dangler pouch or any sort of like a hanger pouch. And then at the same time, you could also put one on the back here. So I'll kind of open this up so you can kind of see what we're looking like. So we have the bottom of the plate bag there. From here, you can open it up. Obviously, this is where you'd be putting your plates in. So you can see here, I have some ESAP plates. No, they've actually included that strap on the inside, which is awesome, because not only does it kind of keep that plate in place. Obviously, if you're getting like certain size plates, you can have them work. But even if you get plates that are a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner, you can also kind of use this strap to keep it a little bit more in place, keep it a little bit more snug. But at the same time, this strap, while it also holds the kind of plate in place, it also kind of takes that weight and connects it up here. So as opposed to the weight kind of pushing down on the vest, the weight is basically being cradled and nested up here. So it's kind of pulling from the shoulders and not just kind of like pulling down all the way here, all that weight kind of resting here. And that goes for the front and the back as well. So you can kind of see, again, that's where the plate goes in. You got the strap, And then you got the Velcro, of course, where you can throw your dangler pouch or whatever you kind of want to work in the front if you're going to add something like that. Okay, now you can see I have some S-Tac Kiwis. Big fan of the S-Tac Kiwis. Also big fan of Agilite's pincer placard or their kind of pincer magazine pouches. Those also work super well. But you can see here I had some S-Tac Kiwis, so I threw these on. Now, previously with the K0, we didn't have the ability, we didn't have that kind of those MOLLE cuts here, but we do have it on the K0 SF, so I was able to weave my S-Tac Kiwis through the actual MOLLE. So you have not only all of this as Velcro, but you also have those cuts if you want to attach something with like the PALS or MOLLE webbing. You have that ability now, which is fantastic. Of course, as you move up, hitting the mic there, you also have that Velcro, so you can, like me, you can put like an IR patch. You could also put rank if you're in the military, whether it be the Army or what have you. Whatever color you're actually getting, you can kind of keep your patches up here. Even if you want to, you could throw a morale patch on there. A little bit of judgment getting thrown your way if you do that, but you do have that ability, which is awesome. And also at the same time, we have those cuts as well, again, for the MOLLE or PALS, but you also have those cuts if you want to have a placard with like the G hooks. You can just basically hook that in and then kind of fold your placard down on front and kind of Velcro that in. So it's awesome. It accepts those placards, but it also accepts all of that kind of MOLLE and PALS. Now, at the same time, it also has that sort of organization capability that we had with the K0, where you have these sort of included elastic loops. So you have one here, I got another one right here. You have those accessories. So let's say if you have a Camelback, you can kind of feed that hydration tube through here, keep it in place, which is awesome, because if you have that thing moving around constantly, you know, it's a pain in the butt. A lot of times you see people just kind of like loop a carabiner here and they'll just clip it into the carabiner, and that works okay, but this is a lot more convenient, a lot slicker, and again, it just kind of fits with the form factor. You don't need to have any kind of like metal, any shiny metal, any loud metal, any big kind of carabiners. You don't need to worry about all that. You just have this elastic loop and you can kind of feed your hydration tube. Also at the same time, if you're running comms, you can also run like your push-to-talk wire. You can kind of run other wires through that as well. And then you can also see on the side of the plate bag, you also have these nylon loops, which you can use to kind of help secure things here on the side or kind of run wires. Again, it just keeps everything nice and tidy, so you don't have like loose hydration tubes or loose wires just kind of all over the place. Now, something else nice that we did have with the K5 and the K19 is you have this admin pouch here, which is awesome because, you know, it doesn't need to be anything kind of like deep or anything crazy, but you do have, let's see how deep it actually is. Taking my hand in there, it's very deep, and I also have very big hands, so right, pretty much goes right there, which is, I mean, it's pretty deep. Obviously, you don't want to put anything too crazy in there because it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to get to. But, you know, if you have like a little like Thule card or any sort of like a call for fire card or a 9-line, anything that you want to use, or even like, I mean, if you have like a squad or something, you can get like the roster of their weapons. You can get even like a Firewatch roster. You can get all this stuff and put it in here, which is nice to kind of keep that where you need it. It's very easily accessible regardless of what you're doing. It's very easy to just kind of like zip this. And Agilite, oh my God, their zippers, I'm having some trouble finding it, but their zippers are so smooth. But yeah, if you need to, all that stuff is very easily accessible, which is fantastic. Now, moving down real quick before we go to the shoulders, you can see I have these tubes put on. So this basically, again, it comes with these nylon loops kind of sewed in. So if you want to run a tube, you can just kind of feed these in, and then you have a tube connection point. If you don't want to do that, again, you can just take the Velcro from the Cummerbund and kind of slap it on. But since I'm actually running with the S-Tac Kiwis and I have these kind of like MOLLE'd in, obviously I don't have that capability to just kind of like, I can throw it over the magazine pouches. Of course I can do that. But again, I don't want to be doing kind of all these layers and stuff. So it's just easier for me to run the tubes. And at the same time, I also like having the tubes just so I can kind of have that kind of quick detach feature, especially since I don't have that kind of feature that we have with the Army IOTV or the new MSV, where you have that kind of pull tab and you can kind of just drop the entire plate carrier. I don't have that feature, so I do like having those tubes so I can just kind of unclip them and then just throw my plate carrier off if I really need to. And I'll clip these in just so you can kind of see, again, the form factor a little bit better. So here we have our cummerbund, very nice, kind of like skeletonized, but also like rigid because it's got like that, what is that, like a thermoplastic kind of supporting it. So you do have that kind of rigidity there, so you can kind of see there. So it kind of holds its own shape. It's not sagging. So it's just a little bit easier to kind of find it, which is really nice. I gotta say, like, sometimes if it's sagging too much, it's kind of a pain in the butt, especially if it gets like tucked behind your back or something. So having that kind of rigidity and structure is nice. At the same time, it is kind of narrow. It's not like too high, so it's not chafing my armpits or hitting like the muffin top here. So you do have kind of like that thin form factor, so it's not restricting movement. And you can kind of see here, it even drops down to give more room for like MOLLE, but also leaving kind of this gap here so you can kind of turn your body. Again, there's a lot of thoughts put into like just the small fine details, but you do have that rigidity in that structure. But again, it's not too high, so it's not kind of restricting any movement, and it's not too rigid to where it's like chafing my ribs or anything crazy. It works super, super well. And again, it's kind of more skeletonized, so you get a little bit more airflow if you're not actually going to be rocking anything on there. So you can see here, I got some mag pouches and an old radio pouch here. So I have some elastic Blue Force Gear mag pouches. Works super well there. Again, gives me a lot of, even though it kind of runs a little bit lower, so it gives me a lot of that mobility and freedom of movement. But I gotta say, this cummerbund is fantastic. Like we saw with Agilite's Warfighter cummerbund, it worked really, really well. It's a very solid design. So this is kind of reminiscent to that as far as what I can tell. But very, very nice cummerbund. Now you can see there, the front and back plate bag actually connect in slightly different areas. So you can kind of see you have the bottom of the plate bag, the front plate bag here. So you got about an inch, but this cummerbund pretty much connects to the bottom of that back plate bag. And what that actually does is it basically pushes that rear plate bag up. Because a lot of times you'll see, and I hate seeing like some of my old videos where I have like my plate carrier on and I didn't like adjust it properly, or I try to adjust it, but for whatever reason it's just setting weird. You'll have that rear plate bag a little bit too low, and it's not cool, because obviously you want to have as much protection for like, your spine, your important parts in the back as you can. You definitely don't want to have it sagging too much, because all that weight will start pushing on your lower back, and that is not a fun time. So having kind of the cummerbund rest a little bit higher on that front plate bag and connect lower on that rear plate bag, it rests really well. You're not having like a really like diagonal cummerbund or anything crazy. It just, when you put the actual plate carrier on, it settles so well. It settles way better than any other plate carrier I've seen. So it's just really nice how they can kind of put, again, that small attention to detail. Even things like you can kind of see here with the front plate bag, these straps, they feed to the back of it. It's not just connected to like the front to where it's like pushing the top of the plate bag like into your chest or anything crazy. It's just keeping it nice and snug against your chest. Everything is resting really nice. You still have that kind of like V orientation, so you're not chafing your neck too much or kind of like just making it super weird where you're wearing a plate carrier and it kind of does all this. It rests really naturally with your body, and again, gives you a lot of freedom of movement. It's not restricting anything crazy. Okay, now I'll release this and I'll sag this a bit so you can kind of see. So here we have those shoulder pads. Really nice. It's about as much cushion as you need. It's not too much to where it's like super thick and it's just kind of like annoying, but at the same time it gives you a lot of kind of like good surface area and cushioning. So it gives you good freedom of movement, but it's also not just taking all that weight and putting it on one part on your traps, because then again your traps get really destroyed. You get knots in your traps, and I gotta say that is something that stays with you, because if like you kind of just started wearing body armor and you don't have a whole lot of surface area, even when you take the body armor off, you feel like your traps have basically been ripped. Like those knots are just, they are really gnarly. It really burns to kind of feel that. So having a little more surface area, but also having that cushioning makes it super comfortable as it's actually resting on your body. Now at the same time, again, you can see you have these two parts that kind of fold inward, which is nice because sometimes you'll have some where it just folds this way, and then you just kind of have like that loose material or that's kind of like seam on the inside, and that starts to rub your neck, or you'll have the corners kind of sticking out or lifting up, and that starts to rub your neck, and it's annoying. Again, it's small things that really add up. And there's a lot of big things with this plate carrier that make it stand out, but it's the small things that really, again, someone who's kind of worked in I've been in the military for over 13 years now, but also just kind of working in the infantry and combat arms, and just, being in the suck with gear that just makes the suck that much worse. It's nice to have gear that is really trying hard to work with you and give you that extra comfort. But again, we have those straps kind of folding in. At the same time, like, it's easy to take off. You can kind of see there, you can just undo that, and then you can take this off if you want. So then you can kind of run more of like a Sub-Zero, where you can have kind of more minimalistic straps, especially if you're trying to like conceal it a little bit more. You can kind of run it more minimalistic. You can change the cummerbund out, maybe with like an elastic one, or even just like a smaller one. You can kind of make it more minimalistic like that. But again, it opens up. At the same time, if you have like a hydration tube, too easy, you can run that. If you want, you could also kind of fold this over. If you have wires, you can fold it over. You can see here again, it's got like these slots in the side, so you have these attachment points, so you can kind of just open it up, and then you can attach it and feed it through those holes. So if you have like, again, like a hydration tube or something, you can have it feeding on the side as well, so you're not kind of having this fold over if you're trying to do that with the tube. But you can do it with like wires and stuff. But again, really nice how you have that ability to just kind of take that pad out, but also it just allows you to run things underneath it, run things through the sides, on both sides, because it's got it on both sides, kind of like those two holes. And also at the same time, once you open this up, then you can adjust it. And this has kind of Agilite's, I don't know if it's patented, but I mean, it's really solid design, but you kind of have that number layout. I'm gonna throw my lapel mic like obnoxiously right there. I've been having issues with this lapel mic, so I'm just trying to make sure I can see it actually recording. Okay, so here we go. You can kind of see those straps again, but here, if you kind of flip to the other side, you can see how once you kind of open that and take the Velcro off of the straps, you can just undo these. You can see here you have the numbers. So we have 3, 2, 1. And then if you're, again, maybe borrowing your plate carrier to somebody and you get it back, you know that generally it rests at like a 3 or like whatever, a 3.5 or something, or a 2.5. You can kind of put it back to where it was originally, kind of using those numbers there. Then you also have kind of these slots here, which also have numbers. So you can feed it through the 2. You can see I have it there. Right there, you can kind of see on the side, you got the 1. So you can also feed it through different areas here in the front. Now you can see, also different from the K0, you have the material on the side, but then you also have that mesh. So that mesh kind of channel adds a lot of breathability, a lot of airflow. You do have this padding, so it kind of keeps the plate carrier settling nice on your body, but again, kind of keeps a little bit of offsets in your chest, especially here where you'll have a lot of that heat. You'll kind of have like this sweat mark here in the center of your chest by your sternum kind of moving up. You have this kind of airflow, this mesh, which is really nice. Now we know with mesh, it doesn't hold up as well as kind of just having this material here like on the sides. So this is a very nice balance. It's giving you that mesh, that airflow where you kind of really need it with those hot spots, but also giving you this material to kind of nest your plates and support your plates a lot better. again, being on the sides, you know, you have the potential of it kind of rubbing more against things. So it's got more of that abrasion resistance as well. So as far as long-term durability, this thing is going to be fantastic without kind of minimizing that airflow, and also the cushioning, because you have the cushioning here, you have the cushioning here, and then you have, again, that mesh. And kind of showing you the back here, you have kind of very similar thing, except you can kind of see this has a little bit kind of slightly different shape. Again, when you're talking about it's kind of all that sweat, all that heat, this gives you that kind of channel for the airflow, but also giving you the cushions on the side. Again, also kind of helps offset it a little bit, which adds a little bit more airflow here, but also having that cushion is fantastic for actual like comfort. And again, having this material here is great for that long-term durability. Now turning it around, so you can kind of see here, you do have some Velcro on the top. You have that kind of extra material here to kind of weave things through. So you can see it works great with the Haley Strategic Flat Pack. Of course, all of the Agilite A maps or the micro map, those are all fantastic. You can add those on here and they would work great. Again, you have the laser cut kind of, you can see that here on the bottom. This is all very kind of reminiscent of Agilite and kind of them thinking things through. Wherever they can add those kind of laser cuts, it's awesome. Again, helps shed weight. Also with these are very, very well done, very durable. You're not gonna have to worry about these kind of like, you know, whatever, weaving things through there or kind of pulling up on it. You're not gonna have that worry of those kind of ripping or getting too loose or anything crazy. So pretty standard. And then you also have the kind of pull handle here. So it's got that Velcro fixture, which helps it keep nice and flat, so you're not having any kind of like snag hazards, especially as you're doing things you don't want to be kind of snagging, especially if you're like doing fast roping or anything like that, anything inside of a helicopter or something where you can't have kind of as much comfort in kind of moving around with your back. You don't have to worry about that snagging so much. At the same time, if someone does need to use it, they have that, and they can kind of pull you off the X, pull you out of harm's way. Really, really awesome design there. I didn't show it before, but again, with that Cummerbund, you can swap this kind of tube connection out by just flipping it over. You have this part, you can just replace this with the kind of standard Velcro panel. So if you want, you can just kind of attach the Velcro to the front of your plate bag there by swapping out that attachment point there, which is a really, really cool design. Now, if you do need to adjust the Cummerbund, you can see here in the back, all you need to do is kind of lift this up and then kind of feed it through here, give you a little bit more space. Maybe if you're adding some layers, if you're, you know, putting on like a jacket, or if you're kind of moving more into like a cold weather environment, you can kind of give yourself a little bit more room by kind of adjusting it like that, which is really cool. And that is pretty much it for the Agilite K0 SF. Again, we kind of went over all the features, kind of talked about how it's a little bit different from the K0, also how it incorporates a lot of really nice features from the other plate carriers like the K5 and the K19, and how you can also kind of make it more modular and kind of set it up more like a Sub-Zero. So again, a lot of thoughts put into this specific plate carrier. So it's going to fit a lot of different roles, whatever kind of mission or team you're working on. You can absolutely feel comfortable with this thing actually being modular and setting you up for success in that specific role or mission. Again, you can see here everything that I had on my previous setup, I was able to just kind of throw it on and adapt it with this specific plate carrier. So it works super well. And again, it just looks super slick. So I can't really say anything negative about this plate carrier. If you guys are thinking about getting a plate carrier, if you're in the market for getting a plate carrier, or if you're just trying to upgrade, I would definitely recommend getting this one because it is really, really solid. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions at all, definitely let me know down in the comment section and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. But again, I love this plate carrier. Again, that's pretty much all I can say about it. If you are in the market, definitely consider getting it. Agilite did send me this for free. So again, full kind of transparency, but it is a fantastic product. I would easily spend like $350 on this thing just with the quality and the amount of features. It's just kind of unmatched with a lot of other plate carriers I've seen on the market. But again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. That is it for this one. I'll see y'all in the next one.